to talk a bit now about investment portfolios. So there's nothing particularly new in an investment portfolio from what we've talked about before. It just sort of brings a bunch of things together that we've talked about. So an investment portfolio is a collection of different types of investments, which we'll talk about here. Portfolio is a collection of different investments. And you just end up treating each investment the way we've been doing it so far. So I'm just going to dive right into an example of comparing a couple of different investment portfolios. This is example 3 from page 62 of your textbook. In this example, we've got Jason and Malik, who are each hoping to buy a house in 10 years. They want their money to grow so they can make a substantial down payment. So we'll describe the two different portfolios. First, we have Jason's portfolio. That has a 10-year $2,000 GIC that earns 4.2% compounded semi-annually. So he's got a GIC, which is running for 10 years. It's got a principal amount of $2,000, and it earns 4.2% compounded semi-annually. He also has a savings account. It earns 1.8% compounded weekly, where he saves $55 every week. $55 per week. And 1.8% compounded weekly. And lastly, he has a savings bond. Basically broken into two parts. 5 years, $4,000 investment, 3.9% quarterly, which he then feeds into another 5-year bond, which gets 4.1%. Trying to see if that's also quarterly or not if I look through the example. It doesn't really say, so I'm going to assume that it's also quarterly. Okay, so our first goal is going to be to figure out how much Jason's portfolio is worth, and then we'll talk a little bit about Malik's. So, the GIC. Since this is compounded semi-annually, the end value is going to be 10 times 2, or 20. The interest is 4.2%. The principal, or present value, is $2,000 deposited into the investment with no regular payments. The future value that we don't know yet, and pays per year and compounds per year, we'll set both to 2 because of the semi-annual nature of it. For the savings, now this is weekly for 10 years, so our N is going to be 10 times 52, that being the 52 weeks there are in a year. You'll still be double checking that it's 52 because my brain hurts a little bit. 52 works. savings earns 1.8%. There is no initial investment, but a regular payment of $55 was put into the account. The future value we don't know, and there are 52 payments per year, and the interest is also compounded weekly, so that's also going to be 52. And lastly, there are the bonds. Bond 1, n equals 5 times 4, because it's quarterly compounding. First bond received 3.9%. $4,000 was placed into it with no regular payments, a future value that we need to figure out, and we'll make our payments per year and compoundings per year to match up with the quarterly nature of the interest. But there's also a second bond which also runs for 5 years quarterly, earns 4.1%. Now the present value we don't know, but it's going to come from the future value of the first bond. No regular payments, a future value that we don't know, and also 4 periods per year because it's quarterly. Okay, now that we've set this all up, we can dig out our handy dandy graphing calculator with the lovely blue light in the middle of it and work this out. If turning that off will help us out any. Doesn't seem too bad. Alright, so go into apps, bring up the financial app, and bring up the solver. And our N is 20, our I is 4.2. We've invested $2,000 up front with no regular payments, a future value that we don't know, and everything is semi-annual. So when we run the solver on the future value, we find that the GIC is worth $3,030.71. Then we come down to the savings. That ran for 10 years weekly, so that's 520 compounding periods and payment periods as well, earning 1.8%, no initial investment, but $55 put in every week, and there are 52 periods in the year. Future value of that investment is pretty good. $55 is a nice amount to put away if you can, every week. It's worth $31,329.72. Lastly, we move down to the bonds. The first bond, 5 years quarterly, so 20 periods involved, 3.9% interest, principal amount of $4,000 with no regular payments, and 4 periods per year, gives us a future value of $4,856.65. We're in a little tight there. But that amount is now what's going to be invested in bond number 2, $4,856.65. So setting that up, we change the interest rate, we change the present value, same amount of periods per year, and we solve for the future value, which is $5,955.44. Okay. Now this is, in each case, going to take us to a question on what their return was. So, to get rate of return, I need to know how much was invested So if I put all that together, from the GIC, there was $2,000. Little line here. From the savings, there was $55 weekly for 10 years. And from the bonds, there's $4,000. You'll note that I'm not counting this $4,856.65 because that came from the first bond, which started with a $4,000 investment. So that total amount, which is 2,000 plus 55 times 52 times 10 plus 4,000 is $34,600. That's how much that Jason invested over all this time. So his return was from the GIC $3,030.71. From the savings, $31,329.72, and from the bonds, $5,955.44. Put that all together, and it is $40,315.87. So the rate of return would be 4315.87 minus 34,600 divided by 34,600, or 0.165 or 16.5%. So now we switch over to Jason. I'll give myself a little bit more light here. It's a bit more helpful, I guess. So next up, and this would be for Malik's portfolio. One thing I should mention, my amount for Jason turned out slightly different than the example, and I have a feeling that was because that second bond was really annual and not quarterly, but the question wasn't clear on that. So in Malik's portfolio, we have a tax-free savings account that earns 2.2% compounded monthly, and has a $5,600 investment, and that's running for 10 years. He has a Canada Savings bond, which earns 3.6% annually. With no initial investment, but is putting $500 in per year. And that's also running for 10 years. and a savings account earning 1.6% compounded monthly we're putting in $200 every month. And that is also for 10 years. So, like before, we'll put all these together in the tax-free savings account. This is for 10 years monthly, so that's 10 times 12, or 120 periods. Tax-free savings account is earning 2.2% interest with a $5,600 investment, no regular payments, future value that we need to find out, and 12 periods per year because it's monthly. The Canada Savings Bond, it's 10 years annually, so that's just going to be 10 periods. Gaining 3.6%. No initial investment amount, but regular payments of $500. The future value we need to find, and 1 period per year. And lastly, the savings, which are monthly for 10 years. So that'll be 10 times 12, or 120 periods again, giving 1.6% with no initial investment, but regular payments of $200. A future value we need to figure out with 12 periods per year. And now again, we can just use the graphing calculator financial app to work out those values. Tax-free savings account, I'll fill in those values. And solve for the future value. Tax-free savings account worth $6,976.62. The Canada Savings Bond, 10 periods, 3.6% return. No initial investment amount, but $500 put in every year. 1 period per year. Future value is $5,892.88. And then lastly, the savings account. Put in monthly. Has a value of $26,007.87. So now we'll do the same sort of setup to figure out rate of return. The total investment would be from the tax-free savings account, straight $5,600. From the Canada Savings Bond, it was $500 a year for 10 years. A little tight on room here. And from the savings, $200 monthly for 10 years. So working that out, 600 plus 500 times 10 plus 200 times 12 times 10 is $34,600, which was exactly what Malik invested. Also exactly what Jason invested, the other person in the problem. The return is going to be the sum of those same three totals at the end. From the tax-free savings account, $6,976.62. From the Canada Savings Bond, $5,892.88. And from the savings account, $26,007.87. For a total return of $38,877.37. You can probably tell already that Jason has the better rate of return than Malik, but we will work it out. The rate of return would be the difference between the investment total and the return divided by the total investment. Is about 0.124 or 12.4%. So of the two, Jason got the better rate of return and more money at the end because they started out with the same amount. So that is an example of looking at investment portfolios. Again, nothing really different than what we've been talking about the last few sessions, just sort of grouping it all together. That's about all I have on this topic. We will have a few questions up in the Google Classroom. Thanks, folks.